Hello, it is once again time for us to sit down together, grab our favorite beverage, and talk about yarn. We have a crochet finished object, a knit work in progress, and a possible cast on. So feel free to join me as we talk about the end of the summer romance crochet along, the beginning of our fall shenanigans, and the continuation of our 2024 reading journey. I hope that our monthly podcast video finds you well and that you are truly in a crafting mood. And if you are not in a crafting mood, then I hope to at least keep you some company as you, I don't know, maybe build a Lego set, work on a puzzle, color some pages, bake a cake. I don't know. Please tell me what you're doing in the comments section below because I am nosy like that and I want to know how to best keep you company. It may perhaps be cliche to mention, but time does seem to have taken flight. The mornings here are, getting a little bit cooler, which means that instead of it being 90 in the early mornings, it's down to 80, sometimes even the low 80s, like 82, low humidity. Those are the mornings I live for, and I just go out and enjoy an little bit of cooler weather before we get, Florida fall, which is actually like in December. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Before we dive in all the pumpkin autumnal goodness makes, I do have one last very, very summer specific project to share with you. And that is the final make for the summer romance crochet along, or should I say make along? Make along is probably a better description. Now, the summer romance make along officially ended on the 17th of August. We had a live party, we got to chat, and that is honestly one of my favorite parts of this make along, when you join me and Claudia for a live and we just get to yabber on about yarn and any random topics that come to our head, because yeah, that's what a live is all about, at least in my head. So what do I have to share with you? Here, modeled by my beautiful lady, whose name I always forget. I don't know what we called her, but I'm gonna call her Kay for now. Kay as in Clarissa Kay, because my middle name is Kay. K-A-Y. Anyway, she is modeling. I will insert a video here so you can see, because this is my spider web bralette. It was supposed to be a bikini top to commemorate a, I would say, pretty iconic scene in the book Always Practice Safe Hacks, where Gareth and Lavinia share a little bit of an intimate moment when she is finished with a pinup modeling and she's wearing a spider web bathing suit, like a pinup style bathing suit. And I kind of wanted to recreate that. And previously I shared with you a little slide of all the thought process that went into it. My concept board, which I am a fan of concept boards now. I think I will use them anytime I want to design something. They're a great way to organize your thoughts, and you can make them for free on Canva, or you could just open a Word document and copy paste all the pictures that you want to include or that inspire you to make this make. So in this case, I chose one of the different spider web stitches that I found. This was a really simple one that kind of creates a solid middle with single crochets, and then it branches off into 4 legs on either side to kind of resemble the spider. And for the top, it is just solid half double crochet stitches. Then we have some nice little straps. Now, the reason I'm calling this more of a bralette than a bikini is because it is not tight on my body. It does fit more like a bralette or a summer tank top would. So I am itching to make another one of these and like properly document everything that I used, so I can maybe put it up as a free recipe on the blog, and I mean blog as in B-L-O-G. So for this one, like I said, used half double crochet stitches to create these triangle boobies here, and I used Elise yarn that I bought off Amazon. I literally used 100 grams, and I think I still had maybe about 10 grams left over. So it would be great to just add some length to this top so it can be like a proper summer bralette. In terms of other constructions, it is worked flat. We start from the point of the triangle all the way increasing down, and then we join. I wrote down specifically when I joined because I like my V's to not be so, show off so much cleavage. That's just a preference. I feel that I look better when my V's are a bit of higher up instead of really plunging. That's the correct word, plunging V's. So, the back, she is pretty simple. It's just a band of half double crochet stitches. And I also, since she was a little bit too loosey-goosey, I did crochet over a elastic thread just all the way around here to give it a little bit of shape. And that is really all I have to say about my spider web bralette. She was pretty easy to make. I think I finished her in a weekend. I remember that I was going to go to the beach with Chelsea and I wanted to have a photo shoot, but I completely forgot when we got to the beach because it was very hot and I wanted to hide from the sun. So I completely forgot to actually take decent pictures of my spider web bralette at the beach where it was meant to be worn. And since we're on the topic of the summer romance make-along, we have chosen the topic for Summer Romance Make-Along 2025, and it is forced proximity. Now, this trope, you could probably find more about it on Goodreads or on Amazon if you literally just type in forced proximity romance novel or mystery or whatever. It is the concept that for some reason our characters are forced to be in a situation together. Maybe they went to a hotel room, there was only one hotel room available and you get to share a bed. Maybe it's that they got pushed together in a project that they didn't really want to work on, and that is kind of forced proximity as well. So there's a liberal interpretation of what this trope can and cannot be. So just keep your little bubbles brewing and join us next summer for Summer Romance. And we are, as I said, going to be full on the trope of forced proximity. And now that we've gabbered on about the last of the Summer Romance make-alongs, it is time to fall down our pumpkin rabbit hole. Yes, I have said pumpkin rabbit hole because we actually continue our finished objects with my first pumpkin themed finished item, and that is a pumpkin table runner. Now earlier on this month, I shared a pumpkin granny square tutorial, and of course I couldn't leave it at that. I had to share something you could make with the pumpkin square tutorial. So over on the blog, I posted a bit of an introduction and kind of a layout of pieces of how I pieced together my pumpkin table runner. And I used the same materials that I mentioned in the pumpkin granny square tutorial. I just did not completely use the pumpkin granny square. I interspersed solid granny squares and granny squares with brown middles and orange middles throughout this table runner to create my tablescape, my fall tablescape. Now, feel free to do the same. I shared a reel, like a 50-second reel, that, let me tell you, had 10 minutes of material, okay? I had to edit down my 10-minute reel, which really would have been a short form like YouTube video, but I edited it down to 50 seconds so I could post it here on YouTube as a YouTube short and on Instagram as a reel. I think you can also find it on Pinterest. So if you kind of want me to talk you through it, there's that, but you can also read about it in the blog where I mention more details about the length and width of this piece and how you can go about making your own changes to create your own pumpkin tablescape. So that one was, I gotta say, I hyperfixated on that project. I finished it, for me, pretty quickly because usually projects where I have to seam and then weave in ends are not a fast project for me, but this time I did do fasty things. So that is the first of our pumpkin related projects. The second one is still a work in progress and it's a literal pumpkin. So every year I try to find a new pumpkin pattern to follow and make and share along with you. And this year I found it on Pinterest, I believe. Yes, I found it on Pinterest and I followed the pin that actually belonged to the person that created it. Because you know, sometimes you find a pin on Pinterest, you click it very excitedly and it takes you where you don't want to go. Unmentionable places in the dark web, for example. But anyway, Here is the beginnings of our pumpkin. I have seamed her up, and now I just need to work the stem part of the pumpkin and actually stuff it and seam it all together to create the actual pumpkin-y pumpkin. I was trying to make a huge pumpkin, but using rows and to create ridges instead of working it in the round like I did last year for the huge pumpkin Sherpa pillow that I shared, which I'll leave linked here and in the description box below if you're interested. Because who doesn't want a pumpkin Sherpa pillow? Like, they were all the rage last year, and it's really easy to create using the Bernat Blanket Extra. It's very fuzzy, it's just beautiful. I made one for myself and one for my sister. But anyway, we're talking about this here pumpkin. So she's almost finished, and you can tell she fits in the palm of my hand, so she is not a big pumpkin lady. I used 2 strands of worsted weight, and I think I had to have used 4 in order to make a very bulky pumpkin. So we will be fixing that because I do want a very bulky pumpkin. Alas, I will put the link in the description box below if you also want to make this pumpkin. She uses half double crochet stitches and slip stitches, so it's pretty easy to create, and you don't actually have to cut yarn every time you're going to change color. You do it pretty seamlessly. She does have a video where you can see kind of what she's doing, or you can purchase the PDF as well. All right, so that is the second literal pumpkin make. The third pumpkin make, I'm not actually going to be sharing it with you because I'm doing a whole vlog dedicated to it, but it is kind of something I can wear when fall gets fallier. Now, that was our first work in progress. Our second work in progress, you will have seen a reel for on Instagram. I don't think I shared a YouTube short, but I might later on, and it is what I'm calling the Bog Witch sweater. Now, I'm calling it the Bog Witch sweater because it is worked up with curio yarn in the color lichen, I believe it's lichen, yeah, L-I-C-H-E-N. So in that color, and it's a beautiful olive green, and because curio is a mercerized cotton, it has a very, very nice sheen to it, so it looks very mystical, I like to believe, or, you know, very party-like. So I am working up a more summer version of the Eat Cake sweater. Now, the Eat Cake sweater was originally created for fingering weight wool yarn using a 4mm crochet hook, and in this case, I'm using fingering weight cotton, mercerized cotton yarn, and a 4mm crochet hook. Now, I know it will not stretch the same, so I am, like, for example, when it stretches, I think I'll have the collar here, but I've also made a very much more cropped version of this. In fact, now that I'm wearing it, I might think it's a little bit too cropped, but we will see, because we can always, after we join our rectangles, work a little bottom rib or something to add length to the bottom of this sweater. Now, the Eat Cake sweater is worked in modular crochet, which means we work it in rectangles and then we join all these rectangles to make our actual garment. Now, these are the first front 2 rectangles, and here I am finished one of the back rectangles and started the other one. So after these 2 are made, I'm going to join it, and I'm going to continue working up rows for my Bog Witch sweater, because I really think this color, it just looks like a mystical bog. So this color reminds me specifically of when you go on Pinterest and you put like a moss floor or moss woods or something like that. That beautiful color that looks dewy because you took the picture right in the morning before the sun had a chance to kind of dry out the moss. That's the color that this reminds me of. So I'm very happy with how that is going along. It's a pretty mindless make, if I do say so myself. The only difference, other than changing the yarn, which is going to change a lot of things, you're going to know, is that I'm working all of my stitches in the back loop only, not just my single crochet stitches. I'm working all of my stitches in the back loop only to give it more of a stretch. So that is my second work in progress. And now my third work in progress I shared with you last month, and it is also green, but it is a knitting project, and it is the Love Magic sweater. The Love Magic sweater is a design by Disco and Stitch. I made one last year at around this same time, and I always knew I wanted to make a second and possibly a third version of this sweater. So I am almost done with my raglan increases, and it'll be time to split for the sleeves in like 4 more rounds if I'm not mistaken. And I love working on this sweater, I'm not gonna lie, but I haven't worked on it so much lately because I have been, well, creating all other sorts of makes. As you saw, the Bog Witch sweater that I started, then I got distracted and started that pumpkin, and then I got distracted and started a pumpkin vest that I'm going to share, and then I was working on mending some clothes, which will be a video after this one. So yeah, we've got a lot of stuff going on, but again, this is the Love Magic sweater by Disco and Stitch. It is knit and it feels beautiful. I am using 4mm needles. I am using 4.5mm needles to whip this project up, and I am also using Kobu, which is a cotton bamboo blend. This one doesn't have the typical sheen of bamboo because it is more cotton than bamboo, and I like it. It's still very, very soft, but it doesn't have that sheen, that kind of silky sheen that you get when you do a more bamboo blend yarn. But it is a lovely yarn to crochet with and to knit with. And hopefully I will be splitting for the sleeves soon because I do have another project planned with this same yarn. This year my husband's sweater will be in this yarn. This is the color he picked out. So hopefully I'll have some left over, and if not, I know it's an easily accessible yarn, which makes me happy. And what I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to be making the Bananero sweater again, but instead of knitting it, I'm going to be crocheting it because we had a lot of issues. Trying to get gauge and trying to get, well, not trying to get gauge, trying to get a garment that would fit my husband. I had a lot of issues figuring that out, so I figured that this year I was going to go with a more crochet garment but using a loose gauge so that it has a lot of drape and it doesn't feel heavy when he wears it, because it is designed to be a either transitional garment from the hotter months to a bit of cool weather, or a pure summer garment that he can wear. So I don't want it to be very weighty, and hence I think I'm going to be using this bamboo with a 6mm crochet hook. This is meant to be a DK weight yarn, 232 yards in 100 grams. Okay, now you're probably expecting to see a project that we have chatted about before, and that is the Superstitious pullover. You're probably saying, Clarissa, why isn't that project on your needles or your hooks? That is a very, very good question. I don't have the answer to it, except that I just find myself at a crossroads where I am scared to start it. But progress has been made because we have wound up our main color. Our main color is the EYF colorway by Vine. This was 2018, my lovelies. This has been in my stash since 2018, and it was actually a gift. Mom bought 100 grams of this beautiful yarn for me to remember our trip to EYF together. And I haven't wanted to use it for that reason, but that seems silly. So I thought I would use it to crochet up the Superstitious pullover. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Superstitious pullover uses DK weight wool, and as I do not have DK weight wool in my stash, I thought I would play around using sport weight or fingering weight. But I had already decided if we're going to be using fingering weight to create the Superstitious pullover, I was going to be crocheting it using a 4mm crochet hook for drape. Now, the contrasting color for this has changed. I found one that looks really good with it to create the color work, and that is going to be, and that's the yarn actually that was left over from knitting my first Love Magic sweater. So it is a very thin decay weight. So I think it will pair very well with this yarn, especially because it'll bring out the tones of like bluey purple that are here. And I'm going to be crocheting just the Sarah Sanderson. I think that's her name. Yeah, her name is Sarah, right? The Sanderson sister. That's blonde. That's who I'm going to be crocheting up in this yarn. Now, if you were just here for the crochet content, that is all that I have to share with you. I have made some yarny purchases, but alas, they have yet to arrive, so I will be sharing those with you at a later date. Now, as with my whips, I find myself reading and listening to several audiobooks at once, and that, my friends, has been a mistake. I work better when I hyperfixate on a project or a book. I read it, I understand it, and I take in a lot more of it than I would if I just, read multiple books at once. This doesn't tend to happen if the books that I'm reading are completely different genres. Like if I'm reading a more scientific book, like how to manage your stress to live a better life, and then paired with a romance novel, I'm not going to confuse the two at all. But currently I am listening to What the River Knows. And this is a young adult book about, that's meant to be kind of like a mixture of Indiana Jones and The Mummy. And I love The Mummy. So when I read that, I was like, well, I will give this book a try. Ladies, gentlemen, fellow humans, why is there a trend in the YA world to make books that are like 20-hour reads? Why? I find that very frustrating. I cannot tell you how frustrating I find to have an audiobook that is going to be 20 hours long. Because, unbelievably, I am already 6 hours into this book. It's a good book so far, I'm not gonna lie, but I do wish there would be a little less details and like more getting on with the plot. Although, I will also say I haven't gotten bored with the book at all. And this is, again, What the River Knows. I borrowed it from the library as an audiobook. The problem that I'm having is, at the same time, NetGalley, which is an app where you go to if you want to read advanced copies of books that will be released soon. Some of them are available as to read now and you get to download them for your Kindle, and some of them you have to apply in order to read, and then in exchange you have to write a review. So you get to read for free, essentially, if you're chosen, and the only payment you have to do is, a review. So I call it reading for free. Anyway, the point is they made Alexandra Basti's newest book, the one that comes out in January 2025, available as a read now. And this book is titled Earl Crush. The premise of it, I'm not giving anything away because it's the blurb in the back, is that this it takes place in the Regency era, and this character, Lydia, that was introduced in the first book, which is Ne'er Dukewell. You don't have to read the first book, honestly, but the character Lydia is introduced in this first book. And she has severe social anxiety, to the point where if she has to talk to a group of unknown people, she might end up throwing up, like that kind of severeness. And she takes it upon herself to drive all the way to Scotland with her friend and propose marriage to the Earl of, I cannot say that name, so I will put the thing here. And as soon as she proposes marriage, the Earl goes like, I'm sorry, but who are you? So it turns out that somebody had been impersonating the Earl and sending her letters for a year. And so it kind of has a little bit of mystery to it, because yes, we've got this plot of romance that's developing, but the subplot is trying to find out who's been impersonating the Earl and why he was doing it. So I really enjoyed reading it so far. The characters are always very quirky, very adorable, and yeah, I'm having fun. I'm having fun reading it. The only thing is that since both What the River Knows and this Earl Crush book have a little bit of like mystery going on in them, I sometimes start reading Earl Crush and I'm like, wait, what was Ines doing? And then I'm like, no, this is Lydia, not Ines. So That's my only little caveat, that perhaps I should not have read these two together, which is why I've stopped listening to What the River Knows while I finish my book. Speaking of Alexandra Vasti and her books, Chelsea and I went to see her. So she is a British literature professor that lives in New Orleans, but she's been doing a bit of a book tour in indie bookstores mostly, I believe, and she came to a bookstore that was nearish to me. It was a bookstore in Sanford, Spellbound Bookstore, and it's about an hour and 20-minute drive from where I live, and I had to go through Chelsea's house. Well, you know, through Orlando, and Chelsea lives there. So I was like, Chelsea, how would you feel about joining me to go to this question and answer session at the bookstore? She's like, oh yeah, I'll totally do it. And Chelsea is so sweet because she'd never read a book by Alexandra Vasti. But she was like, no, we're doing this, we're doing this. And I'm just not saying sweet because she like volunteered to go with me, but also because like genuinely out of the goodness of her heart, she's like, yeah, babe, I'll keep you company. And thank you again, Chelsea. Anyway, this led to Chelsea reading the Halifax Helians novellas by Alexandra Vasti, which are free if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, and she absolutely enjoyed them, which thrills me because sometimes when you give book recommendations, you're always like, oh no, did I do the right one? Is the person going to enjoy this book? Which is not a mark against us or them, it's just that we all have different tastes, and that is fine. That is glorious. That's why we have so many different authors and literature and writers, and it's all good. It's all good. Anyway, it was such an enjoyable experience. Not only did we hear Alexandra Vasti talk, but you know, we had dinner together with our respective husbands because we had them tag along for emotional support. Anyway, we had a wonderful time, and I think that's one of the exciting things that happened last week, for sure. Other than that, I don't really have much to say. I'm going to continue my chaotic making. I'm going to edit this video, which you will see this Saturday, already the 31st of August, if I'm not mistaken. What day is it today? Today's the 28th of August and it's Wednesday, and this video is going to go up on Saturday, which is the 31st of August. That means this Sunday is already the 1st of September. I will definitely continue with chaotic makings because there's just so much to share in this crafting world, honestly. And if you ever, you know, want to catch up with me on a weekly basis and you are not necessarily enjoying the videos that I'm putting out, you can always subscribe to my newsletter. The link to that is in the description box below. And my newsletter that I send out, we always have like a little bit of a personal story or either something that happened to me or something that I've been thinking about. And then we have a section about crochet news where I share interesting things that have been popping up in terms of patterns, designers, things like that. I share what I'm reading, and I also share things that I've been loving. These can be tangible things that you can also purchase yourself if you would like, or intangible things like experiences and, I don't know, getting super excited that we got a Costco membership and there's heirloom eggs and they're blue, and that's all I've ever wanted in life. I've always wanted to have a hen that lays blue eggs. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me here today. Always remember that you can like, you can subscribe, you can head on over to Ko-fi if you would like to support the channel. And of course, you can just simply follow along with my newsletter to get all the little tidbits that have been going on behind the scenes. And of course, you can join Discord. Now, if you're not aware, Discord is, yes, it can be considered a bit of a social media platform, but it is a server where we connect, and there's different channels that you can view of what we're crafting now, what we're reading. You can just comment in there and everybody from the community can pitch in and answer. It's basically what Instagram used to be, but divided into topics. So if you miss that aspect of Instagram and you don't mind learning how to use Discord, then head on over there and we can have chats, because I have been a little neglectful of it, but at least once a week I will go in and catch up with everybody. All right, I think that is all the crafty and bookish chat that I have for you today. If there's ever anything that you want to ask me, please feel free to do so in the comments section, or you can send me a message on Instagram. The point of it is that I have been dying for some time, like 3 years, to make a ask me anything kind of video where I answer any questions that you might have on the video itself, but I never receive a lot of questions, so it's not enough to do a video content. But I do want to do one. So if you ever have any questions about anything, I think what I'm going to start doing is putting them together in like a little file, and then when we have enough questions, I will answer them on a video with you. It'll probably be like a vlog type video, so we sit down, we crochet, and I answer your questions. So if that is something that interests you, please feel free to pop all your questions in the comments section below. Anyway, once again, thank you so much for joining me here today. Thank you for all your kind comments, and I hope to see you in the next video, which is going to be a mending vlog. I will see you later. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of crafty time with me. Bye!